So what we want to do is to make sure that this legislation, the Landlord and Tenancy Bill, is properly drafted, carefully calibrated, implementation so that there is enforcement, there is a clear check and balance, so that it's not abused again as it has been abused for the last 18 months. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I thank the Deputy Prime Minister, Honourable Professor Prasad. Are there any supplementary? Honourable Kumar, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I thank the Minister for his very detailed explanation. Let me just make a simple question here in relation to the demand and supply. We already know in urban and peri-urban area, demand is more than what we can supply. So that is already there. And in informal settlements, the houses are going on rent for about $500. So forget about a flat. That would be even more. So how will this particular policy that the Minister is talking about, the legislation itself, will ensure that the price of the rental properties don't go very high, considering what people are going through in terms of finding a property?
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So our approach will be first to deregulate ground rent and high-end residential rentals. That's the first thing we will do. Second, we can then, once we have done that, we can gradually return all residential rents or above a certain threshold to market determination. You know, we can do that. And I think that would be the best thing to do. And the third approach that we will take is continue monitoring the housing market to assess the rent stabilization, whether the rent stabilization policy, which kind of limits annual increases, would be more appropriate than a blanket freeze, Mr. Speaker. And we understand, I mean, one of the reasons why we don't want to rush is then an abrupt end or removal of freeze without proper safeguards could result in exploitation. And as you said, the market has already changed, and 18 years is a long time. And this is the problem. You know, any government, you know, which puts out policy, there are always unintended consequences. Policy can, the intention of the policy could be good, but the actual consequences of the policy could be completely different from what the intention is. And that's why, and governments get it wrong. I'm not saying this. There are policies that we put in place will have to be reviewed. But unfortunately, for this policy was not reviewed for such a long time. And that has caused all kinds of perverse incentives and has resulted in a situation where tenants are actually now being affected themselves. It was supposed to protect them. It's actually gone the other way around. So, you know, for a while, it protected the tenants. You know, like when you have certain unusual situation, an economic downturn or depression or a big natural disaster, you know, over a certain period of time, you know, you, as a policy response, you put a freeze, okay, you know, for this period of time, you can't do this. But after that, it ought to have been reviewed and looked at how it was. So that's what we will do. And I think once the legislation comes into Parliament, I think honourable members, Mr. Speaker said, will have an opportunity to also contribute. And I think that will be the best approach to deal with this rent freeze. Thank you, Mr.